Hey guys, Richard Aficionado channel and reefs.com, and we're here in the show floor of Reef A Palooza Orlando 2021. And I'm here with my good friend Antonio of a VCA. How are you, my friend?
You know, we're so happy to be back at the shows. It's been a year and a half. This is our first show since last year. So I'm really good. I'm great, actually.
Man, I was talking to Terrence earlier, and then he had goosebumps, and I had similar effect when I was entering the thing, because then seeing all these smiling faces.
Oh, the people are awesome. It is so much fun to be talking about this stuff again in person.
For sure. And then to share the same kind of passion and everything, and just this, people are so excited to talk to you and everything. It's just nowhere like it, I think.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
At least. Yep. So we're here to learn about your random flow generator, the big thing that you got there.
Yeah. So this is actually our model for the 5-gallon Nano. This goes right in the little 5-gallon tank.
Okay.
Actually, it's a scaled up model of our 3/4 inch nozzle, our most popular size.
Okay.
And I know you wanted to know kind of how it works and what makes it do what it does.
Right.
Because on face value, it looks like magic. It's like, well, how does that even work? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
But really, it's just about fluid dynamics and balancing and imbalancing of pressures inside the nozzle.
Okay.
And so essentially what happens is like an eductor nozzle in that it has a jet and it has eductors, but it also has a couple of other elements that kind of make this randomized, so to speak.
Okay.
And so basically water enters the nozzle here, right? And it gets accelerated just like you would an accelerator and creates a jet right down the middle of that nozzle.
Okay.
Okay. That jet then pulls in water through the eductors, just like an eductor nozzle, and draws in water through here.
Yeah.
Where the difference is that as water passes into the nozzle straight through the middle, the flow coming in here travels around the outside, creating a pressure imbalance. Okay. That pressure imbalance causes the jet to get drawn in or educted into this channel, which for a brief moment, that one channel becomes active and it sucks in a bunch of water on the end and expels it at about a 30-degree angle right here. Gotcha. And then the shape of the internal fins then kind of nudges it to the next channel, to the next channel, and to the next channel. Gotcha. And that's kind of what you're seeing here when you see the flow demonstration.
Right. And I actually, for me, I was puzzled at first because, this has no moving parts.
Yes.
And the thing is that, in order for it to shoot in this way, and all in a different random way, it will flap has to go down or something. And I was like, how does that work? But and then I was looking at the demonstration here, and you can see that things are spinning, propelling in different ways.
Yeah, in fact, we can even show up, we can take the nozzle off and show it without. Yeah. It's a great demonstration to see it that way.
Right.
And so you can see the difference, what happens with random flow versus without random flow.
Right. So that's a great demonstration that explanation that you're showing us. So like a common a question that I usually get whenever people come to see my aquarium is this nozzle reduce any pressure?
Yeah, well, it's like any inductor or anything you add to the end of your return line, it's gonna reduce the throughput to some extent. Okay. So all of our nozzles have a flow rating. We provide a minimum flow rating to get the effect, get the randomization. Right. We also provide a suggested optimal flow rating. Yeah. And at our suggested optimal flow rating, you're gonna get a good randomized motion for the least amount of back pressure. Now that doesn't mean that's the limit. So we actually encourage you to actually push a little more flow through it. So if you can afford to lose maybe 20% throughput, you can get a huge, massive wave. At our suggested optimal flow rating, you should expect to see about a 10 or 15% head pressure. Gotcha. So not a lot. Not a lot of. In fact, lockline by itself, that's going to take away 5 or 10% right there without even nozzling on the end. Right. So stay within our suggested flow rating. You'll get good flow. Go beyond, and you'll get even bigger, more pronounced waves.
Gotcha. And it's funny, it's like a personal story behind my personal build is that I have an Elos tank, and it's not like a well-distributed, tanks like Water Box or Planet Aquarium and stuff like that. And, I had to have this VCA in my, random flow generator in my tank. So I reached out to him, and I was very happy to say that I sent him all my parts, and he actually made all the parts according to it, and now we have an Elos package.
Yeah, we have the ability to put those on there, and we'll get that up on the website. But it's basically a combination of adapters and lock line and the nozzle itself to allow you to attach these very easily. There's like 3 or 4 options for that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then when I did it, it literally took me about 5-10 minutes just to put it on. So that was really awesome and great experience. And then to know that I was able to help the market in some way to. Well,
it was actually a common question, and we just hadn't been able to get to it yet because no one would send me the actual parts.
There you go.
And so that allowed me to get good measurements, get good tolerances on all of our parts to make sure that what we're going to put on there is going to fit. Yeah. And so thank you for doing that. It made my life really easy.
It's my pleasure. And you know, there's also another thing that I came here to talk. And then I think maybe about a week or so ago, you did a live stream with Terrence at Neptune Systems.
Yep.
And for many of us who have Salinity Probe in any of our controllers, one bane of my existence in that world is fluctuating salinity of my probe.
Yeah, and so that's actually one of the biggest problems that most people have. Now, what we found is about half the people that run a salinity probe will either get a almost unusable reading or one that's not as good as they'd like.
Yeah.
And it's all because of air bubbles or debris getting on the end of the probe.
Right.
And so we set out to solve that problem, and we came up with a solution called, what we call it the SPS Kit.
Right.
And it stands for Salinity Probe Stability Kit.
Okay.
Keeps your salinity readings stable so that you can actually use that information and it becomes something that you can look at and rely upon about what you're looking at.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you happen to have a kit here with you?
I do. In fact, I have it right here. It's a really simple device.
Sure.
And
how does this work?
Okay, so essentially what it's doing is it's keeping flow and movement around the probe, and through a careful design, it keeps a very specific static pressure and movement inside. And so essentially what you do is you take this housing, and this housing includes what we call our pressure screen. Goes an inlet for a small amount of flow to come through it, and the body.
Yeah.
And so the pressure screen just kind of locks onto the bottom.
Okay.
And this probe goes inside so it stops right against the screen. You gotta be careful because it's a little, you know, the probe is delicate.
Right.
And so essentially you push about 60 to 90 gallons an hour of flow through this little piece here, and it comes up the bottom. And this pressure screen serves to both keep the right amount of static pressure around the probe as well as to move that water around the end. Does a couple different things. One, the consistent pressure keeps a consistent reading. Okay. Because, you know, we're measuring resistance basically. And so when you put more pressure or less pressure, literally the distance between ions changes, and that changes the conductivity of that probe, or the resistance that it's measuring. And so that helps with that, but also the flow then keeps all the bubbles and all the debris off the probe. And so what you end up with is a reading that has maybe a 0.15 delta. Yeah. So if you've got steady salinity, you might say if you're at 35, you might see 35.15 at the high, and you might see 34.85 at the low.
Right.
And that's pretty good. You can actually get sometimes tighter than that. In fact, I have in our test tank, when we put this latest version on here,
I saw that on your Facebook.
It was so flat that I had to go check the test tank to make sure the probe was still attached. I was like, it's not reading anything. Well, no, it was reading. It was reading the actual level of salinity.
Straight consistent.
Yeah. Now, with that said, it's important to note that this will change the physical reading of that number. So if you have a tank that's at 35 exactly and you put this on, the pressures are going to change that reading to either be 34, 36, or something like that. But in exchange for not knowing the exact number, you're going to get a usable trend line. So you'll know when it's going up, or you'll know when it's going down without any of that usual up and down wiggle that we're so used to seeing.
Gotcha. For a guy like me who's extremely lazy, suffering from a lazy reefer syndrome, can you recommend me a pump that
Yeah, you got a couple of good options. So one of the good options that we use on our own personal tank is actually the Siche Micro Nano. It's the 90 gallon an hour model. So it's a really small, inexpensive pump, super easy. Now, if you're running a Neptune system, of course, you might have an extra spare P-mump sitting around. That's a great option too, because it actually has a compression fitting that fits the quarter-inch line right there already. A lot of people have a manifold of their system, and they can plumb in a quarter-inch outlet to an open port and plumb it with a little knob or something to control that flow, a regulator. And yeah, so it's really easy to plumb it in there. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Now, the benefit you get is once you've got that set up, you can put this probe anywhere you want in your tank. You can put it in your drain chamber, put it in your return chamber, you can put it in the middle, you can put it anywhere you want. It's going to get a good, consistent reading.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much, Antonio, for taking your time to explain everything about the VCA and your products.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Have a great show.